Well, howdy. Wait, no, hang on. That's a cowboy, not a pirate. Ha ha! I'm starting this vlog off really weird. Hello, by the way, I'm Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin, and I am about to do an entire reading vlog for, let me just grab them, the entire Demonata series by Darren Shan. I was playing my TBR game and I lost a round of it, where I now have to read all 10 of these in April. So I thought I would make it a little bit more fun. I would try and do a 48-hour kind of like reading vlog for it and read all 10 of these in 2 days essentially. So yeah, that is what I'm doing. If you're wondering why I'm dressed a little bit like a pirate, which, you know, it's a shocking disguise, I'm doing an interview with LD Lipinski in like 40 minutes. I need to set everything up still. I kind of just like shoved everything around just to, but the second book in that series is pirate themed, so I thought, why not? Let's just whack on a bandana thing and just call me a pirate. So yeah, I want to read these over the next 2 days. I mean, I want to start at midnight because I also have a glass of wine. I know this is becoming like a Friday night tradition because I usually do author interviews on a Friday night. We usually celebrate a brand new book release and I usually have a glass of wine or a glass of Prosecco or a strawberry daiquiri. What are these books about? Now, I've never read them before. I'm just looking it up now and I'm on the Wikipedia page. And it says that this series is notable for its extensive graphic violence, despite being aimed towards children. Like, what's that about? So the plot of this book is, it centers around 3 protagonists, Grubbs, Colonel, and Beck. Although they meet each other at various points, they are from separate times. Grubbs lives in the present day, Colonel in the 1970s, and Beck in around 450 AD. The books detail their fight against the demon master Lord Loss, his many demon familiars, and the mysterious Shadow, who promises to destroy the human universe to even stop death. Together with the disciples, the main characters thwart the Demonata's attempts at world destruction multiple times. So I hope none of that was a spoiler, because I don't know, maybe the stuff about the characters is a spoiler, I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to be reading all 10 of these. They're quite short. They are relatively short, so I don't think I'll have much trouble getting through them. But yeah, it's just trying to get through them in one weekend, so that when I go back to work on Monday, I'll have finished like more than half of my April TBR, so that would be great. So yeah, I'm going to go and get settled for this interview, finish off the last bit of preparations, and update you when I finally start reading these at midnight. Like, thank you so much for wanting to be here. Is the main thing. Like,
I'm so excited. This is like the place to be for kids authors. This is like, you know, the virtual red carpet has been rolled out.
But a huge special thank you to my special guest. Oh my gosh, I love it! My interview with LD Lipinski went so amazingly. I am so happy and chuffed. I always love doing my interviews so much. If you missed it, I will link it down below because it was just... And it's spoiler free, so you would not have had to have read the Strange Worlds Travel Agency series to watch. Anyway, yeah, that was great. I've had my wine, so I'm not too bad. I feel a little bit tipsy. Not too bad. But that'll go out my system sharp quick because I am going to be starting Lord Lost, which you can't really see very well, but I'll just put it like this, and then you can see a little bit better. Oh. Nearly midnight, so I'm gonna, and if you don't believe me, hang on, 23:59 on Friday 9th of April. So this is gonna turn, excuse me, this is gonna turn into, why aren't you coming back on? There we go. This is gonna turn into midnight any second now. Any second now. Any second now. It's gonna turn into a midnight. Any second. There we go. So now look, it's officially a start. It's not really read along because I'm doing it by myself. Ah, gosh, okay. So yeah, let's start it. I've just had an epiphany. I think I've read this before, but only because, I mean, I'm on page 20. You know, I'm now on page 26. Fancy that. I'm on page 26 and there's mention of his Aunt Kate, and he calls her No Date Kate. And for some reason, that's just triggered a memory inside me that maybe I have read this before. And I don't know why. Have you ever had that feeling when you read a certain line? It could be like the most random line or the most random scene could happen. And it just, you remember reading it in the past and you just can't remember reading it. Because that's what has just happened with this. I'm having that moment. Yeah. Oh hey, finished Darren Shan. No, I didn't. I finished Lord Lost. As every time I look at this book, I think the title is Darren Shan. I finished this kind of last night, around about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. It is now 9 o'clock in the morning, and I am really glad that I feel kind of on track, because if I read 5 books today and then 5 books tomorrow, that's the book sorted for the entire 48 hours. So yeah, I'll be going on to book 2, which is Demon Thief. So for this one, I did like it. I thought it was it's very violent, it's very graphic. Well, I wouldn't say graphic, it kind of is. So like chapter 2, is it chapter 2? I also feel like I should say little bits of spoilers here and there as well in this vlog. This is a very old series now, so I guess I will be doing spoilers. Chapter 2, his family gets slaughtered, which I feel like I should have remembered, because I remember the Aunt Kate, no date Kate thing, but yet I kind of didn't quite remember the fact that his mum, his dad, and his sister get slaughtered. And what's really interesting is that I forgot how that happened. And I mean, because I do feel like I've read this book before, but also not just like how it happened, but the fact of like the why it happened is kind of explained. Like, I wasn't sure, like the intrigue of this, it's high, okay, right? I'm going to be all over the place with this, and I want to be quick with each book because, you know, there's 10 books to talk about. My intrigue was super high because I was like, well, why was his family killed? Like, what's going on? And like, I was just so confused to begin with. But then we started to get more answers. So Grubbs ends up going to like a mental institution after his family's death because he says it was demons that did it, but they don't believe him, so he gets locked up, and his uncle is the one who kind of gets him out. And there's like this kind of like family mystery thing going on. There's the werewolves, okay? There's lycanthropy at play. And I like that because I haven't read a book with like lycanthropy in such a long time. So I kind of like that. It wasn't where I thought it was going to go. So like, I like the plot, I like the story of it. I'm not too sure I love the writing style. It's just, it can be quite horrific at times, but it's so, like, it tries to laugh it off sometimes as well. There's 2 conflicting tones to this book, and I'm like, I either want it to be really scary or I want it to be really funny, and it's trying to be both at the same time. And I didn't really get on board with Grubbs to begin with. I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I started to like him more and more as the book went on, because there were some actually like really touching moments where, you know, even though he didn't get on with his sister, like now she's dead, he's like, oh my gosh, you know, I actually loved you, you know, like there's like some touching moments like that. So I did think he was more humanized, and I do have to remember that he's just a teenager as well. You know, he's smoking, he is playing pranks, well, he used to before his family died. So I need to try and remember that. I need to remember that. This is a young adult book, the character is a teenager, and I mean a really annoying one at that though. He feels like my brother, like my younger brother. I don't know if I like reading a book that has a main character who's like my brother. Like, let's just say that. I don't know where my phone is. I'm sure I wrote some notes down in that as well, like with some highlights. I can't find it. I mean, you've got all weekend. I'll let you know if I find anything that I've written in my notes that is worth a mention. A good start to a series, very intriguing, quite horrific at times, but also a little bit funny at times, but I don't think I laughed, is the thing. Like, it wasn't my humour, but, you know, it's Darren Shan, and I feel like that is what you get with his books. I feel like, anyway, I don't know, I'm not the expert. But yeah, so yeah, that's book 1 down, and then I'm going to go straight into book 2. So Steph from Steph Loves is doing some sprints at 11, so I will try and tune into those. I also want to, like, I'm still in my pyjamas. I want to, like, go in the bath, I want to wash my hair, I want to have a shave. I just want to, like, you know, for this weekend, just, like, feel just totally clean, totally relaxed, and yeah, so that's what I want to do. But I might tune into the sprints first and like read some of this, I get some of this done, and then do that. Sounds like an idea. I'll need to make a coffee as well, put on some clothes as well, just to feel like I'm doing something, and then, yeah, get clean. So yeah, I will have to actually after this, because there are some like visuals of like rat guts and stuff at the start, and then there's all of the, like, the demons are horrific. I mean, good descriptions of the demons. I thought the demons were quite scary. There is some like really scary stuff in there. But anyway, yes, I'm going to go into Demon Thief, which I don't think I've read at all. But I bet you as soon as I start reading this, I'll be like, oh wait, No Day Kate is back or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I will check in with you after I finish that one. Book 2, Demon Thief, is done, and I finished that during Steph's second sprint on her channel. It is currently 10 to 1. I could not tell the time there. It looks weird in the viewfinder. Anyway, yes, finished. Demon Thief. And I think I like this one a little bit more than Lord Loss, actually. It felt, now I've read this one, the first one feels a lot more contained than I realised when I first read it. Because, yeah, the first one, it does follow, like, Grubbs, but it's more like his family kind of deal, and that kind of singular story about, you know, him losing his family and Lord Loss being part of that. But in this one, it kind of expands the world quite a bit, and I like that more than the first one, like a lot more. And I mean, I think I'm going to give both of them 4 stars. I will let you know at the end actually what I give all of the books. I'll leave ratings till the end. At first I was a little bit confused because we started into it and it doesn't say who it is straight away, because if you don't read the blurb you won't know who this is about. But I thought it was just a continuation of Lord Loss, so I thought it was Grubbs again, but it's not, because we don't learn that it's another character. I mean, yeah, the second page, fair enough. But still, I was a little confused to begin with. So yeah, Cornelius, or Colonel. What's really interesting about Colonel is that he can see lights, but he can also manipulate them, and he can make shapes and things. And I found that really interesting, because he can also make like doors and stuff. And then he also says that he makes like Picasso paintings every now and then. I mean, say if I had that power, I would just make dicks. He has me criticising how immature Grubbs is in the first one, and he has me, honestly. Anyway, my intrigue was so high in this because Colonel, he sees like something outside of his window and he ends up following it, and then like he's gone for a couple of days, and then when he comes back he's holding like his baby brother Art. Nobody knows where he's like been for the past few days, but they end up moving to a different city, and that's when things like really start picking up as well, because he meets this witch who can also see lights, but oh gosh, me on. But also she attacks the school, and she kind of opens this portal up where these demons can come through, but also these 4 disciples come through as well, and they tell Colonel that there is like this weapon that can help either destroy the demon world or the human world, and they're on a mission to find it. So Colonel ends up like joining them to locate this weapon. Like they do go to like a different world. They see these like worm-like creatures with like these gaping mouths. Like the atmosphere from the first book, like the grotesqueness of the first book carries over, and made more so because I feel like it expanded the world quite a bit. So it's still like really atmospheric in that sense. I'm still not like 100% sold on the writing style though, is the thing. I don't think it's like incredibly written or anything, but it does the job. You know, I'm having such a fun time reading this. But there's also Lord Loss, you know, from the first book. He did the horrible deeds to Grubbs's family and all of the stuff to do with like chess. Like he plays chess with the person. Honestly, it's so random. He plays chess with the person while everybody else has to like fight demons, but the demons won't kill them unless the person Lord Loss plays chess with loses. And like I don't know, like that's a bit random. It's a good little connection to the first book actually, because this is set 30 years before the first book. And like where was I going? Anyway, Colonel has to guess who the demon thief is who stole Art. Yeah, this is spoiler, so I can tell you, but it does turn out to be Colonel. Like he is the demon thief, but I kind of guessed that anyway. I didn't think that was that shocking. However, what I did like about it was that how emotional it was, because Colonel was lonely, and that's why he kind of like took him. But also there's like this transformative power that he has that isn't explained yet, because it's a really powerful thing. And I just found that, I find that so interesting. So I wasn't shocked that he was the demon thief, but I was shocked that, well, one, that he was like overcome with so much emotion and really lonely, and 2, like the transformative powers that he has, because he's able to make Art, who is really a demon, into like a human. And that is like really interesting. I'm so intrigued. I keep moving because so I do think it's a really fun story. I'm kind of guessing now, like I don't think the writing's gonna get better. Like I feel like that I've been sold into it like the way it is. This is just what I'm gonna have to expect, so I'm gonna try not talk about the writing style anymore, because I just know it's not 100% for me, but I'm still enjoying it. It's like a fun time, and I'm really enjoying the world expansion. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading the third book, which is Slawter, and I don't know where this fits on the timeline. I don't know if this is going to be carrying on Colonel's story, or if we're going to go back in the future. But yeah, I don't know about the whole time stuffs. So I don't know what's going to go on with Sword. I don't know where it fits in the timeline. But excited to read. And I'm just going to continue on Slaughter, watch Steph Sprints, see if I can get more of that read. This feels a little bit thicker than the other ones, but they are really short. They're only like 250 pages long, so that's fine. And yeah, so I'm going to get back into reading. Again, I will update you when I finish Slaughter. I don't think I'm going to do B-roll shit, because, you know, it's going to be a long vlog when I'm talking about 10 books, so Yeah. 3 down, 7 to go. Okay, so I feel a little bit behind. I have just done a live show for Hollowpox, which is the third book in the Nevermore series. So, that took some time out of my day. I did go in the bath, I had a shave, I look so beautiful now. I managed to finish book 3. It's only 8 p.m. now, so I still have 2 books to go. I probably won't go to bed until like 3 a.m. again anyway, so, there's still time. But so I finished this book. Probably my least favourite of them so far. I wasn't the biggest fan of the plot, and also I was just a little bit confused. So this has gone back to Grubbs, who is the protagonist from the first book, but also Dervish, who is his uncle. And this is, timeline-wise, this is set in the present day, whereas Demon Thief was set in the 1970s, Lord Loss and Slawter are set in the present day. Yeah, trying to keep on top of everything, it's not easy. But then again, we're talking about me here. It might be easy for you, not easy for me. So yeah, we're back with Grubbs and Dervish, and what I really like about this book is that after the events of Lord Loss, they've obviously gone through quite a lot of trauma. So I love the fact that we are exploring their mental health, kind of like PTSD in this book. So it hasn't just been brushed off, they've fought these really villainous villains. So there are consequences to that. Dervish is having like nightmares and Grubbs is having nightmares, but also Dervish is sleepwalking and being a little bit violent. So character-wise, this is definitely doing better than I was expecting, because I don't know why, but I was just expecting fluff. But I felt like being able to explore mental health and PTSD was such a great way for this book to kind of be. So I just wasn't really a big fan of the plot, because I don't know why, but it just felt really like, I don't know, cheesy, or just, I don't know, it just felt weird. But a big time horror movie director wants Dervish to like work on the film that she's making called Slaughter, and it is a film about demons, and I'm just a little bit like, well, why? Like, I mean, you've gone through something here. Like, you've gone through a lot of trauma to deal with demons, like specifically demons, and you're gonna go work on a movie that's about demons? Like, really? That's not gonna help. And it doesn't help. It really doesn't help. But I kind of get it, because he does want to make sure that they're not actually working with real demons. But I don't know, like, he didn't need to, like, work on this goddamn film. But of course, Grubbs ends up finding out that this director has got this deal with Lord Loss, and it brings, like, all the demons back into their lives, and they just, like, they can't escape it. So I liked it because it was very action-packed. Again, we have a lot of fights and battles, which, it seems to be a recurring thing at this point. And I don't know if I'm getting a little bit bored by that. It is only book 3 as well. But it seems a little bit repetitive at this point. However, I am still really enjoying the atmosphere. I like the grotesqueness of it. We have, Arya has hair from maggots, and Arya actually is the brother of Colonel. Oh my gosh, like, I don't know why, but I'm having a bit of a struggle. Colonel, the brother of Colonel from the second book. Yeah, brother, the one that he stole, who was actually Lord Loss's. But, Colonel stole Art, or Audrey, and Audrey's in this book, and Audrey has like maggots for hair, and there's snakes coming out of Lord Loss. There's like little touches like that that's quite grotesque, and yeah, it keeps up that atmosphere, is pretty much what I'm saying. So it's a good book, but probably my least favorite, because again, I just found the plot like quite cheesy, and at this point, I'm not 100% feeling the characters. I appreciate the exploration of PTSD in this, but I'm still just not like this. I'm just not 100% loving the characters, and I wasn't going to mention it, but also the writing style. I just wasn't. But having a fun time still. It's still a lot of fun. There are some interesting things that I think will come from this, especially since at the end it turns out that Grubbs is a magician and he can use magic in the real world. And after we found out that Colonel had, Colonel had powers throughout the book, but it turned out that Colonel is more powerful than we realised at the end of book 2, and now with Grubbs as well, he is having these like extraordinary powers too. I feel like there's going to be some kind of connection with that. Like, there's something that's going to, I don't know, I do feel like we're heading towards them coming together, maybe. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. Like, my intrigue in this is so high. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next. Nothing else I can really say about that, but I do think it's my least favourite of the books so far. So next we have Beck, and I believe Beck was one of those main characters who I mentioned in the summary at the start, and I think they live in like 400 BC or something. They're like way, way, way in the past. So even before Colonel. So again, we're going to have like another jump. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that right now. But I am excited to have, well, a girl protagonist as well for our main character, because we've had, you know, Grubs and Colonel, and they're both boys, so it'll be great to have Beck come into the fold. And the cover actually really scares me because it's like an alligator crocodile thing. Not sure which one. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I'm going to shut up now and get to reading because I do feel behind. I need to get on with reading, so I will update you in a bit. So I finished Beck last night, but I was a bit too tired to be on camera, but I wasn't too tired to continue on reading, so I also started Blood Beast. Now, I fell asleep, and I did finish it this morning, but I feel a little bit behind now because it's 10 a.m, and I still have 5 books to read today. So I'm a bit like... So I'm going to try and keep these like reviews brief because I've also been trying to edit this vlog as I've been going on, and it's like 20 minutes already, so I'm like, eh. So I have my coffee, so I am all ready to go. This is like my 3rd one this morning, not gonna lie. So yes, Beck, this one follows a totally different protagonist, and it is set, I think, between 400 and 500 AD. So this is almost like a prequel of sorts to the first 3 books, and I really enjoyed this one. I love Beck as a character. She is like this young priestess who is learning magic, and she is really powerful. She has a fantastic memory. But the setting of this as well, it's like set in like really ancient like Celtic Ireland, and I could feel that. Like, I'm still, again, not the biggest fan of the writing style, but I do feel like Darren can really write some descriptive scenes and really set the picture. So this one does continue on being quite graphic, and there is a death in this. I can just say, because this is a spoiler vlog, but she's called Orna, and she is eaten alive by zombies, but they're not just any zombies, they're the zombies of her dead children. Like, that is just horrific. And again, like, this series, it doesn't mind being that horrific, so I like that aspect of it. I really do. Like, I've never read a series quite this grotesque before, but still, it's like really great atmosphere. I love it. One of my favorite things about the series. And this one I do think is much better than the 3rd book, but is it my favourite one of the series? I don't know, but I do enjoy following Beck and her journey as well, because we have this cave and a tunnel to the demon world, and it's kind of like her mission along with like some other people in her clan to stop like demons from coming through and all of that. So we do have Lord Lost come back into this. Like, he is like a staple at this point. I'm not scared of him. Like, by this point, I'm not really scared of him. I do think he has a lot of style. I'll give him that. But what I also love about this, actually, is that there are ties to the first few books. So the love of chess from Lord Lost stems from this book. And I like seeing that. I like seeing the little details that is kind of weaving together this bigger picture. So even though like each book has been its own little separate story, this one has contributed to that, even though it's set hundreds of years before. And I really like that. I really like that. Plot-wise, I definitely think it was a lot stronger than the 3rd book. There's actually some scenes at the end that surprised me, actually. Like, I was really surprised, especially since the end is of Beck getting trapped in the tunnel and getting torn apart by demons. So I'm like, well, wait, she was like the new main character, so what? So that was like really, really interesting. I really do hope that she comes back, because, I mean, there are some things in book 5 that happens, and it's kind of leading towards something, so I think she might come back. But yeah, I am keeping ratings until the end, so again, I'll let you know. I'll probably rank them at the end of this video. No, I think this was like a really, really strong entry into the series, actually, and I just love how different it felt due to the settings. So yeah, is there anything else I really want to say? Not at this point. Like, it all feels like one long story, like one continuous story, even though they've been a little bit separate. There's like seeds of each. That feels like it's a big blanket kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's all I can really say about it, to be honest. And then we get to Blood Beast. Now, I didn't like this one as much. This one, it has all of that teenage kind of angst, and there's like a lot of kissing, there's a lot of crushes. It does go back to Grubs Grady and his kind of battle fighting himself because of his lycanthropy. He doesn't want to change into a werewolf. He's scared about how dangerous he will be when he does. And also we have the consequences at the end of book 3 where he turns out to be like a magician. So yeah, this scene's like there's one where he is kissing somebody and then the bottle smashes but it turns into like flowers. You can see the consequences of him being a magician kind of play through, as well as how it's playing on his mind. I found this one, it isn't that gory, like probably not until about the end, which actually this had a like fantastic cliffhanger. I felt like this lacked a lot of what I love about the first 4 books, so this is why I didn't like it as much. Even like the 3rd book, which I didn't like all that much, at least that one had more gore, which I probably shouldn't be all about, but that's kind of what I'm expecting from the series now. However, the end did convince me. It did save itself in the end, actually. But yeah, I didn't mention him before, but Grubbs does have a friend called Billy. He gets really like badly bullied by, well, one of Grubbs' new friends called Locke. And I don't know why, but like Grubbs was just like letting it happen. And I'm like, you're supposed to be his friend. Like, why are you letting him treat him like shite? So I wasn't a big fan of that. And like, I didn't like Grubbs as a character because of that. But not just because of that. I did find him and his uncle actually to be quite whiny. Which I guess is like, oh my god, like me saying that. He has lost his family in the first book. And he is dealing with like a lot of stuff. But I don't feel like Darren Shan is the kind of writer who can really give PTSD justice. It does read like a little bit too juvenile for young adult, but it's not children's. It's definitely not children's. Definitely not children's. So I just really disliked the characters in this book, especially Grubbs, because they just let that happen to Billy. He was just letting him get bullied, and I was like, I can't overlook this. I can't overlook this. This is just wrong. I did feel like the story was actually a little bit boring for most of it. And then when Locke died, because yeah, Locke does die, when they discovered the cave that I believe where Beck died, because Grubb starts saying Beck, like she screams at him, which is cool. So that's why I think that she might be coming back, because, you know, he's seeing her. But Locke does die in this cave. That's when the story really starts to pick up, because they end up trying to like cover it by making it look like he fell from a quarry. And I found that like really interesting because his uncle also gets in on it, but also his uncle is like being a little bit sketchy right now, as well as his uncle is seeing somebody called Junie who was in the 3rd book. And now Junie is very interesting. I kind of found it a little bit gross that Grubbs was kind of attracted to her, especially since she's like an older woman. And I think he's like 14 or something. I can't remember his age. A lot does happen, even though like it starts off quite boring. A lot does happen towards the end. Grubbs does turn and he kills, or seemingly kills, Billy's grandparents. Now Junie ends up convincing him to run away with her on an aeroplane. And like I found that like so bizarre. Like I don't know why, but like that was just like so random and weird. But it did lead to probably like one of my favourite parts of the series so far, which is why I'm torn about this book, because while I think it might be on par with my least favourite so far, the ending when they go on the aeroplane, well, Grubbs and Junie, and then there's like smoke coming from the bathroom and it's Lord Loss and his demons and they're like slaughtering people on this plane, and then Junie turns out to have betrayed Grubbs and she's like, he's all yours now, master, and it's just like, what? How dare you? Also, he's on a plane, like Grubbs is on a plane, like how is he going to get out of that? So I'm really excited to start, where is it? Demon Apocalypse. I'm so excited to start this. So yeah, even though I complain about, you know, little bits and bobs here, I'm really nitpicky, but I'm still so intrigued. Like I want to see where it leads to. I'm loving the kind of world that's built here. I'm loving the tension, and yeah, I don't know, like there's just like parts of it that I really do enjoy. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of the characters, I do think I'm invested enough in the plot and the world for me to keep reading. This one feels a little bit shorter, so I might have a better time reading this one a lot more quicker. I have my coffee and I'm going to start in a minute. I'm a little bit worried I won't finish in time. Yeah, I'm going to head off and read that. I don't know how to segue. I feel like I'm saying the same thing. Don't know how to segue. I'm going to read the next book. Catch it in literally 1 second. Over halfway done now, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I feel like I might be a little bit on track. It is 1:30 p.m. and you know I can whack 4 books out in the next like 11 hours, 11 and a half hours or whatever. So yes, I've managed to finish this one. I both liked and really disliked this one. So this does continue straight on from the cliffhanger from Blood Beast, and again it was like a really great cliffhanger, you know, being on the plane, like what is going to happen to Grubbs. And this started off really, really well as well. Like listen to this first bit as well. A demon shaped like a giant scorpion digs its stinger into a woman's eyes. As they pop, it spits eggs into the bloody sockets, then watches with its almost human face as the eggs hatch and wriggling maggots feast on her flesh. Like, that is, like, so gory. And, like, it was starting off really great, and I was excited, and the tension, it was rife. And then there was just, like, a little bit of a cop-out, I felt personally. And I was trying to search, like, reviews and stuff to see if other people felt the same way. But there's a couple of things in this that people didn't really mention. And I'm like, why haven't they mentioned this? Or at least, why is it okay? So, firstly, the way that Grubbs ends up surviving the plane scene is that Barnabas, and I haven't mentioned him before, I don't mention these characters because I don't know if they're going to be important or not. So, like, Junie, she was in the third book, but I didn't mention her because I didn't think she'd be important. But it turns out she was. And then, like, with Barnabas, he was in the third book, fourth book. I'm getting so confused. The fourth book, Beck, and he was Run Fast, which you don't really find out until the end. But yeah, he does end up saving Grubbs. It is a little bit of a deus ex machina. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I just felt like it was just a bit too convenient. And also, like, the amount of times that Grubbs is called a coward is like, yeah, he is. But then as soon as, like, a battle scene happens or something, he's like a fighter, you know what I mean? It's like there's two kind of different sides to Grubbs, and I don't know which one to take. There just feels a little bit of inconsistency with him at the minute, and again, I don't know whether I like him or dislike him. However, like, I mean, I really do dislike him because he didn't stand up for Billy in the previous book. But not just that, like, I don't know, like, this has been mentioned because it's a big scene, but Billy dies in this one. But he dies because Grubbs kills him, and it's really to stop. I mean, I'm going all over the place with this review, but that's because, like, I'm feeling a little bit emotions. It's to stop the demons from coming into this world, so really it's like a sacrifice thing. Like, Billy has to die for hundreds to be saved kind of thing. And Grubbs takes that decision on himself, and he ends up stopping his heart, and I'm just like, but he's like he's your half brother, like, which again I don't think I've mentioned so far on this. But he is like really good friends with Billy, and you know, it's like, why? I don't understand. Like, it was a hard decision for him, but like, he just killed his half brother. He just killed his, like, one of his best friends. Like, and that's just okay. Like, I've been scanning reviews to see if people were like furious with that, but like, people are sad that it happened. But like, nobody's angry at Grubbs for doing that. And I'm like, why? Why isn't this being a thing? Like, why isn't this a thing? Anyway, it does actually allow for Beck, who I mentioned previously. She was in the cave, and it does allow her to kind of like possess his body and turn his body into her own. So like, Beck is back, and I'm glad about that. Oh, that Beck is back, and I'm glad about that. Oh my god, that's really poetic. Again, I'm just like, I don't like the way it happened. I just feel so bad for Billy. I feel so bad for Billy. Bless him, justice for Billy. But again, right, okay, so plot-wise, I love the fact that a lot of the storylines are coming together. All the characters are together now as well, because Colonel actually is also in this, because Barnabas does take Grubbs, after he saves him on the plane, he takes him to a cave which has Colonel in, and then when Beck comes in towards the end, all of them are together, so it's like all three main protagonists are finally together, so it's all coming together, and I love that. I do love that. However, again, like, I'm being nitpicky here probably. So we had the conclusion to Blood Beast, so it was almost like a part 2, and then it didn't allow for much time for the rest of the book, really. Like, it just felt a bit too rushed. So after Blood Beast was quite boring to begin with, and then picked up at the end. And then this one, really exciting to begin with, and like, it was still exciting throughout. It was too fast and too quick. I don't know whether it was like Darren Shan had to rush this one or something to meet a deadline, but it did feel a little bit rushed. And even though the gore and stuff continued, and I just felt like after a certain point, it just felt like I was being told and not shown what had been in the past. It just felt a little bit like a different book. It felt like it should have been longer. It felt like, even though I'm so glad we had that cliffhanger at the end of Blood Beast, because it was really exciting, like, maybe the start of this book should have been at the end of Blood Beast, because it feels like two kind of different books, and I just didn't think that worked very well with the pacing. So I don't know if I'm just being too nitpicky though. I feel like such a bitch. No, I think that is just like what's happened in this. I just think there's some kind of problem with pacing, and as much as I'm still really intrigued in the world, I'm really, again, still excited to see what happens, because, you know, I don't know who's going to survive. I don't know who's going to die. It feels at this point anybody could die. So it's really interesting, and I still want to know what's going to happen to the world. You know, we have this, but also another, it feels like a little bit like a cop-out, is that we are now being introduced almost to like time travel, and I'm not the biggest fan of time travel. I'm not the biggest fan of time travel, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. It's not going in the direction I was thinking it was going to go, so that's interesting. I just really hope that it keeps being interesting enough for me to... I mean, I'm going to continue. I want to finish off the series, but I just hope I enjoy it more, because I'm feeling a little bit of a love-hate kind of deal with this series. I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a bit torn. But I'm just so glad I finished 6 out of 10 now. Anyway, I'm going to continue on, and I don't know how interesting this vlog is going to be for you guys. It's literally just me telling you what happens in the book and then kind of little thoughts of what I felt about it. But at this point, I'm just like, I just need to get this done. So, yeah, I will catch you when I've read book 7, which is Death's Shadow. I genuinely don't know what this is going to be about. So, okay, interesting. I am interested. It feels a little bit thicker than book 6, so maybe this one will not feel as rushed as this one did. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. I will let you know. It keeps snowing, and it's early April, and I'm like, what? It does mean that it's rather chilly, so I can put on my hoodie and just literally get so cozy and comfortable as I tackle these last few Demonata books. So yes, I have finished the 7th book in the series called Death's Shadow. Not gonna lie, I was rather bored for most of it, and I feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that, well, it just feels like a totally different book to the previous ones. So we have Barnabas, and he is going through his life, essentially. Like, so we see like his birth, like how he grew up, how he came to, you know, find the current cast of characters, his connections with Beck, and all of that. So I was interested in finding out more about him because I do like him as a character, but I just, it dragged the story down a little bit, as well as, like, I feel like at this point, these books are kind of dragging my mood down a little bit because they're a little bit depressing. There's not really a lot of positivity in these books, and, you know, it's quite a lot, you know, now 7 books in, going into the 8th, like, how dark and disturbing a lot of it is. And again, we have, like, more deaths in this one, and I say, like, that's one of my favourite parts of this book, but honestly, reading them all at the same time is so depressing. So I didn't like this one as much. We do follow Beck as well, and she is like the main character of this book. She's like the narrator, but I didn't like her as much as when I read book 4, which was also told from her point of view. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that she's in a totally different kind of time period now, and this is 6 months after the previous book, so she is like adjusting to living in the present day. And of course she has taken over Billy's body, and she has all of his memories, and it leads to like this interesting relationship between Beck and Dervish, and Dervish keeps asking her questions, and like there's just like the characters don't really have too much personality at this point. You don't really see Grubbs or Colonel, you don't really get to see them that much. They only appear like very briefly. Even before that, like, we do get introduced to Mira, who is one of Dervish's friends, and I did like her. I've realised as well, like, this series doesn't have a lot of female characters, and when they do, they kind of die or they turn out to be evil, like Junie. But Mira, she seems to be good, and I like her for the time being, but she's not really hugely interesting just yet. But Beck still is like the best female character yet, but I do feel like this book gave her a disservice. It felt like she was a little bit of a bystander to her own story. Like, things were just happening around her, and she can't really fight that well, and when she does, it feels like she isn't being able to use her own magic to the best of her ability. She seemed very powerful in book 4. In this one, not so much. The action scenes are still quite action-packed and still quite gory and gruesome, but I don't know, like, at this point, I feel like, okay, it's an action scene, it's happening, it's fine. It's like, I don't know, the stakes are still high, and I don't know who's gonna die or live, and you know what, I'm worried for Colonel, because I don't know if he survived at the end of this. Yeah, Barnabas does die, and that was sad, like, that was sad, and it's partly why I'm feeling, like, a little bit low, because it just, I don't know, like, there's just, I'm not seeing any light in the darkness at the minute. But I guess that's the whole point of the series. Like, this is why I'm so conflicted with this book series, because I love the darkness, but also I hate the darkness. I don't know what I'm thinking about this series, to be honest. But I like the introduction to, like, a new kind of formidable foe at the end. It is Death's shadow. Like, Death does come into it at the end. It does seem to be like a conscious being, and it is just like a shadow, but I like that it seems like this might be more powerful than Lord Loss. And yeah, Lord Loss is in this again. And he doesn't really do a whole lot, to be honest, but I did like the climactic scenes on the boat. There is a luxury cruise liner, and there is like a fight with zombies on there as well. And I like that. That was like rather good, and that's where Barnabas dies. But it just, yeah, I was also a little worried for Dervish because he has a problem with his heart, but also I wouldn't mind if he died, to be honest, at this point. It was fine. It was fine. I honestly don't think I have a lot to say about this book. I was just like flicking through and I was just like, yeah, okay. Like, I'm learning more about the characters. I'm learning more about Barnabas, and then he dies, so what was the point, kind of thing. But I mean, there is a point because, you know, it made him feel a bit more real. And it was still interesting. I don't know. I'm getting to the end of it and I'm just going to be relieved when it's over. Maybe if I didn't force myself to read 10 books in 2 days, then maybe I could have taken a step back and enjoyed them a little bit more. And I am enjoying my time reading them. I'm just... yeah, as I said, it's a little bit depressing. So let us continue on to book 8, Wolf Island. I literally cannot cut any time because it's like 5 p.m. now. I cannot mess about because I do still have these 3. I've still got 3 of these to finish, hopefully by midnight. I mean, if I go a little bit over, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to penalise myself for that, but I do want to try and get these done by midnight. I'm really interested in how this is going to play out. Yeah, especially since it says that the mysterious shadow is building an army of demons, so like Death, this shadow thing, it's going to be more, and I feel like we are building towards a bigger climactic battle. Like, there's been like a lot of battles so far anyway, but hopefully the final one will be the best of them all so far. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So yeah, Wolf Island, we'll see how we'll get on. I don't know, but yeah. Can't really say very well, but it's snowing right now and I love it. So book 8 done now, Wolf Island, and I just don't know what else I can say about this series at this point. In this one, we have some of the events that happened concurrently with the previous book, which was told from Beck's perspective, so we see what Grubbs was kind of up to. And in this one, right after that as well, after book 7, we follow Grubbs and the disciples and some acquaintances. They want to find out why like werewolves are attacking, so they end up going to Wolf Island, and from there it was a little bit like Jurassic Park-like, because at this island, you know, they've formed like the Dirty Dozen. Well, Grubbs, Mira, and Shark, as well as like some other new characters. So like Timus, I think is how you say his name. I loved him. Like, I really enjoyed his character. Probably like a new favourite character in this series. They go to Wolf Island to find out why werewolves are attacking. And obviously with Grubbs fighting his own lycanthropy, he finally like turns in this one, which was like really, really interesting to see actually, because he ends up killing like a wolf leader, and then he ends up becoming a leader of a pack. So like he's trying to fight his more demonic side himself, which was like really interesting to watch actually. And the reason I say it's like Jurassic Park-esque is because, you know, we're set on this island, which was nicely painted in this book, by the way. Yeah, but like in Jurassic Park, how they're stuck on the island and the dinosaurs are like killing everyone. It's kind of like the same in this, but it's like werewolves instead. And there isn't Lord Lost in this one, which, you know, his absence was pretty much felt, because instead of Lord Lost, we mainly have Junie as the main villain. So that was interesting, but not to the standard I feel as like the rest of the book series. So at this point, I'm just chugging along. There's not really, like, I'm not loving it, but I'm not hating it. But definitely the most interesting part of this is Grubbs' like internal struggle. I feel like during the entire series, Grubbs is definitely the one who, even though I didn't really like him to begin with, and I really didn't like him in the 3rd book, or was it the 5th book? I think it was the 5th book. I really didn't like him. But he definitely seems to have, like, maybe progressed the most out of everyone. And it's very fragmented in this as well, because Colonel isn't even in this. And, like, neither is Beck, really, because it is, like, some of it is at the same time as book 7, but, like, a little bit after as well. So it just... yeah, we don't know what's going on with anybody else, really. And to begin with, I was like, why are we having this, again, such a fragmented part of the story on this Wolf Island? Like, why? But I feel like it was important for Grubbs to progress, especially since Junie has this like vision where it appears as though Grubbs is the one who's going to destroy the world. So that's really interesting actually. She lets him live, and it's going to be interesting to see where that goes in the future. Like, is Grubbs going to be like the main villain? Like, is he going to destroy the world? Like, who knows? Who knows? It's going to be interesting to watch, and that's the only reason I'm still continuing on. Like, as much as I am liking it, I'm not 100% enjoying it anymore. Like, I'm not really enjoying it anymore, but I just want to see it through. I want to see it to the end. Again, like, some of the fight sequences, battle sequences just feel the same as they have in the past few books, and while it's still like quite action-packed, I feel like that has sacrificed a lot of the personality in the characters. So while, yeah, Grubbs is interesting, I just, like, personality wise, I don't really like him all that much. So I'm just waiting for this to be over now, to be honest. Even though, like, the snow has made everything so much brighter, it is getting really late now. So I am gonna try, Try and read Dark Calling as soon as possible. I feel like this is the shortest book in the series because it's just over 200 pages. So these are like almost like Goosebumps length, which isn't too bad actually. It does help with the fast pacedness of it. It's end on a high, I think. Just two more to go. Just two more to go now. Again, like, I feel bad because I feel like I've talked about this on the least. But I just don't feel like there's too much difference about it. I like the exploration of the wolves. I like the island. It was fine. But on to hopefully bigger and better things now. I now have a headache. Oh my gosh. Okay, again, this book feels like a totally different book to the other ones. This one, it follows Colonel, and for some reason we get so much exposition into everything. This is a very telling book. You know what, actually, this one kind of fits into the same category as books 7 and 8, how it feels like they're overlapping and then divulge. So, like, it explains, like, book 7 followed Beck, and then we had book 8, which explained what Grubbs was doing during that time, and then a bit after. And then it's the same with this one. We find out kind of what happens with Colonel at the end of book 7 when it looked like he had died. Turns out he was just getting his ear talked off by different kind of old creatures. They take the form of some, characters who have died in the past. One of them is like Art, who was his brother, but also actually Lord Loss's familiar. I cannot remember half of the stuff in here because it was just talk to you. It was just mainly dialogue for most of this, and just a lot of convoluted past and explanations about everything. I don't know why everything had to be explained. We're going to finish with this one, so maybe Darren Shan wanted to wrap everything up, but like, this is literally explaining everything, and even the Big Bang is brought into this, and like weird space aliens, and it goes in such a weird direction. I didn't like it very much. You know what, I've been editing the vlog as well up to now, just as I've been going along, because if I leave it too much, it's too much at once. But I realize I say each book is interesting. This one just wasn't. I was interested to begin with, but then I stopped caring. I stopped caring. I just couldn't care less. And what is really sad about it is that I am still intrigued by how it's going to end, only because I'm so far into it now and I literally only have one left. But I couldn't care less about the whys and the hows, really, at this point. And it's weird because I feel like if the entire series had been more like this, I just feel like almost every book just changed the way it was written, or it changed the style of it, and I'm getting a bit whiplash. I'm not enjoying it as much as I was to begin with. We do have some I'm not saying the interesting word again. We do have some developments towards the end. There is, again, more battles, because of course there's battles in every single book now. At this point, I'm even bored by the battles, and I feel desensitized by some of the gore, and it's just not even as extreme as it would have been from like the first few books. I'm hanging on by a thread. Colonel, who we haven't had as a POV character since the second book, he is kind of being told things, and he is more wary now of certain people. So like Beck is wary about Beck, and it does look like Beck is almost corrupted by Lord Loss by the end. Even now though, I'm just finding Lord Loss to be tedious. Like, just die already. It's the same with Junie. Like, she's died like 3 times now. I'm just like, is she actually really dead? I've stopped understanding. I've stopped understanding because I just feel like Darren Shan wanted to explain everything going into the final book, and I'm just like, I didn't want to know everything. It eliminated some of that mystery. Sometimes I'm a bit scared of the unknown, and I don't need to know how everything works in a fantasy series like this. It just stopped this series. It just came to a grinding halt just before we go into the last book. And it's made me less intrigued to read the book. I'm still intrigued, but like less intrigued because oh my gosh, I could have so cut this book out. It didn't feel filler because I feel like a lot of it was important. I just didn't care about it. I'm just not engaged. Like, the more the series went on, the less engaged I became. Because I feel like the more I knew about the Demonata world, the less scared I was of it. Because, I mean, it's not a scary series by any means. But even to begin with, like, even with Lord Lost, like the first book, I was rather intimidated by the world of the demons, and I was scared for the characters. And now, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, the characters could die at any minute, but do I care? Not really. I was just so bored by this one, to be honest. And you know what's made me appreciate Wolf Island more? Because Wolf Island was at least a lot more gory and action-packed, even though, again, it's like I found my mood had just plummeted the more I read on. So we're going to finish off with Hell's Heroes now, and thank God it is 10:30 p.m, so I have an hour and a half to read it. It's not going to happen. It's going to be like 1 a.m. by the time I finish this, probably. So I haven't actually done it. I haven't actually read them in 48 hours, but I have had sleeps. So if I hadn't slept, then I would have done it, but I'm not doing that to myself. Not for the Demonata series. No, I want to do this right. The sooner I get it done, the better. I just want to get on with my life at this point. I really do. What better way to wrap up the series than in my very dark but also very cold little library? That is all 10 books in the Demonata series done now. Honestly, I am so relieved. I didn't do it in 48 hours though. It is 1:30 and I have my first day back at work very soon. So I'm going to wrap this up sharp quick. But yeah, Hell's Heroes, I didn't like the ending. And because of that, I have given this a really low rating. I will do all my ratings in a sec, actually, and I will tell you my ranking of them all. Only 3 books in the series got 4 stars. Anyway, this book, okay, so at the end of the previous book, we had Beck, who seemed to be working in cahoots with Lord Lost. Now, there is like this really good storyline, actually, I found. I really enjoyed Beck's part of this book. I'm so tired, so I can't really speak that well. Where she has made a deal with Lord Lost. And also, it just like stems even further back than that, because apparently it seems that Lord Lost is the one who kind of brought them all together. So no wonder why I wasn't feeling as scared about Lord Lost anymore, is because he's kind of like been an orchestrator all along, which, you know, was a pretty cool kind of twist there. It kind of eliminated so much of what happened in the first 9 books because of the ending. So I mentioned the weapon that could either destroy the human world or the demon world. It is Beck, Grubbs, and Colonel, and they do end up destroying everything and starting like the world anew. That is the ending, and I just found that so stupid. Just because that means everything that happened in the past in this series, it's just for nothing. It's all for nothing. So they are starting anew, and they're what, like gods now? I don't get it. Like, I don't understand it. I just the humour in this really ruined it. Like, not gonna lie, it starts off with the death of Grubbs' uncle Dervish, and even then it just seems to be like a little bit of a joke. But then like at the end as well, when like, some people probably love this. Like, I feel like this is Darren Shan's humour. I don't like it. I don't like this humour. But then when they, you know, restoring everything, like, from the Big Bang, and, like, I know, it went really weird. This series went really weird. But then Grubbs is like, he's, you know, starting the world anew. He needs, like, a kind of speech to mark the occasion. And then, clearing my throat to a chorus of good-natured groans from Colonel and Beck, I chant solemnly, in the beginning, Grubbs created the heavens and the earth, and everything was dark. Then Grubbs said, let there be light, and there was light. Coolio. The end. Coolio, you know what, after everything Grubbs has been through in this entire series, all the death and gore and, you know, some of that mental health and PTSD we were exploring earlier on in the series, I feel like some people appreciate the fact that he has, like, stayed true to his character from, like, the very beginning. He was a bit of a trickster, a bit of a joker when we first met him, and yeah, we saw glimpses of that, and the humour hasn't really changed that much in Darren Shan, but I'm just like, Coolio. That's how you want to end this entire series. End this entire series by erasing everything that happened up to this point and starting anew. and not just that, but Beck has, you know, the great memory. So, like, she was part of death. Like, death was part of her. So, like, now she knows everything about death. And so everything is going to happen the way it's supposed to be. And I'm just like, what, so it's history repeating itself as well? I don't understand. A lot of this was confusing. It was more confusing than I thought it would be. We got too much explanation in the earlier book. And then in this book, I don't know, we still had battles. We still had the battles. There was deaths. And some of it was gruesome. But it just... I didn't care at this point. As I mentioned before, I stopped caring, and then I just really didn't like the ending. I'm afraid. I just really didn't like the ending. Although, saying that though, I feel like a lot of series endings aren't ever perfect, and usually there is a lot of expectations in them. Maybe this was the best way this series could be wrapped up. I just felt like this series, it started off so well, and then just divulged in a way I didn't really like or enjoy, so my enjoyment level just went further and further down as the books went on. There's nothing else I want to say about Hell's Heroes. It let me down, and I just thought it was a whole way of finishing the series, and I'm so sorry if you absolutely adore the series. Like, I did enjoy my time reading half of this, and I really did try. I feel like maybe this is my fault. Maybe it was because I forced myself to read these in 48 hours and then still failed. Try not to hate me too much. So my least favourite book in the series was Dark Calling, the 9th book in the series. I just didn't care, and it was boring for most of it. It was just a lot of talking, a lot of explanation, a lot of exposition, a lot of stuff that I didn't want to know. So this is in the last slot. Really tempted to give it 2 stars, this one and the next one actually, because in at number 9 is Hell's Heroes, the final book. I felt the ending was such a letdown, but at least it had more excitement than the previous book. And it was probably the best way Darren Shan could wrap it up, but I was still left disappointed. So I think I'm going to give this one 2 stars too. Then at number 8, and I'm giving it 3 stars, is Death Shadow. A lot of it bored me a bit, and Beck wasn't the best protagonist to follow in this one. After how great her introduction was, this one just let me down a lot too, so this is 8th on my list. And at number 7 is Slawter, which was the 3rd book in the series, which I'm giving 3 stars. The plot was so cheesy, and it just felt like such a weird turn from what the first 2 were like, because I really enjoyed the first 2, and while there were some good developments, I just came out of this thinking, what? In number 6 is Wolf Island. Had quite a bit of excitement. I really enjoyed the island atmosphere of this one as well. But again, by this point in the series, I was really losing interest. But I did also give this one 3 stars. In number 5 is Demon Apocalypse, the 6th book in the series. This one started off really well, but there were too many conveniences, and the plot was far too rushed, and it felt like 2 separate books in one. In number 4 is Blood Beast, which is the 5th book in the series, and this one had probably one of my favourite moments with the cliffhanger ending and the whole scene on the plane. So in that respect, it was a pretty good book, and I gave it 3 stars. And then the top 3, I gave all of them 4 stars, and in at number 3 is Demon Thief, and I enjoyed the introduction of Colonel. I liked the mystery to do with his brother, and I thought this was a really good follow-up to Lord Loss. Speaking of Lord Loss, it does come in at number 2, and I thought this was a great introduction to the series. I was so intrigued by what happened to Grubbs' family. It just set the tone for the series, and it was grotesque, it was exciting, and it was a promising start to the series. Unfortunately, didn't see it all the way through, but it was a promising start. Which means that my favourite book in the Demonata series is Beck, of course. I mean, saying that though, it's probably not like one of my favourite books ever, and it is just my favourite of the series. I just enjoyed following Beck as a character, and I loved the setting. I loved being in the past. I thought this had some of Darren Shan's best writing work, which was a really strong indicator of how much I enjoyed this book. So there we have it, the entire series ranked from best all the way down to worst, and I'm just so happy to say that I have done this series and I can check it off and just move on with my life, to be honest. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments if you've read the Demonata series and which book is your favourite in the series. I would love to know, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye!